online no YouTube. Estou começando. Estou esperando. Tudo bem? Obrigada por vocês terem vindo. Quem não pegou, aqui na entrada tem uns panfletinhos sobre o Chevening Programme, então vocês podem dar uma olhadinha. Eu estou só esperando me darem um ok para a gente começar. Então, enquanto isso, eu vou aqui dar uma enrolada. Vamos conhecer o nosso público. De onde vocês são, por favor? Você é daqui da ECA? Qual é seu curso, sua área? Okay, so she's a student from the audiovisual area. Undergrad music, yes. Okay. Audiovisual undergrad student. Public relations, graduação, né? Undergrad. Você? Advertising undergrad. Okay, so visual arts undergrad too. Okay. Vocês entendem bem inglês? Então, porque o professor Luiz Medina vai falar em inglês com vocês. Tudo bem? A apresentação vai ser em inglês, tá bom?
A gente pode fazer a apresentação toda em inglês. Acho legal também. Do lado do Chevening isso é importante. Então, se vocês quiserem, a gente pode já, from the outset, launch in English.
Tudo bem? E se vocês tiverem dúvidas, vocês podem perguntar em português, a gente ajuda, tá bom? Ricardo, Estevão, podemos começar?
Tem mais uns alunos chegando.
Tem mais gente chegando, né? Yes, everybody's always late. Oi, pessoal, tudo bem? Tem uns panfletos aí, se vocês quiserem pegar, fiquem à vontade. Vem cá, professora. So this is Professor Cláudia Lago. She's the president of the International Relations Commission, the head of the...
Very nice to meet you, Luiz.
Tudo bem? Cristiane, prazer do Chevening. Obrigada pela presença hoje. Você chegou correndo. Como sempre.
Eu moro longe, daí sempre tem algum probleminha, mas consegui chegar razoavelmente na hora.
Perfeito. A gente está transmitindo online já? Já. Começou agora.
Então tá bom. Então, por favor.
Muito obrigada, professora. Depois a gente conversa.
Então, vamos começar novamente. Oi, pessoal, muito obrigada por quem está aqui presencialmente, quem está também online. Eu sou a Thaís, eu sou secretária da Comissão de Relações Internacionais da ECA. E hoje a gente tem o prazer de conversar com vocês um pouquinho sobre as possibilidades de estudos no Reino Unido, contando aqui com a presença do professor Luiz Medina, da University of Birmingham, e também com a Cristiane Lima, do Chevening Programme. Eles vão falar um pouquinho para vocês sobre as oportunidades de estudos lá, principalmente no Master, né, no mestrado. E, se vocês tiverem dúvidas, por favor, podem perguntar. Quem estiver online também pode mandar mensagem nos comentários do vídeo. A gente repassa as perguntas aqui para eles, tá bom? Muito obrigada por terem vindo. Thank you very, very much. This presentation is going to happen in English, so I hope you enjoy. Por favor.
Thanks, Thaisi. It's a pleasure to be here. So I'm Chris Lima, and I'll be kicking off the presentation today with Chevening. I'll take you through what it is, the scholarship itself, how to apply, and then we'll move on to hear about what it is like to study at the University of Birmingham with Professor Luiz. Okay? Please let me know if you'd like me to switch into Portuguese. Sem problemas, gente. Eu estou fazendo em inglês para vocês já irem praticando. And Professor Luiz also speaks Spanish, so we can, have a showcase of languages today, if you like. Thaisi, can I just confirm? Should I use? Yes. Perfect. Thank you. So, how many of you have, let's just have a show of hands, have you heard of Chevening before? Ooh, okay. Okay. a few of you, that's nice. So Chevening is a scholarship program financed by the British government, and it's been present in Brazil for 40 years. So we've sent already 2,000 Brazilians, I find it like it's a mind-boggling number, to study master's programs in the best UK universities. So we're really proud, to have a Brazilian identity. And the whole point of the Chevening Programme is to look for and find Brazil's future leaders. And what does that mean, right? Leadership means so many things, and I think, here in ECA today, you'll be able to tell us what being a creative leader is, a future-thinking leader, working across the arts, culture, humanities. So that is to say that Chevening is also looking for people like you, working in the creative industries, in cultural spaces. But you are the ones that are best placed to tell us what being a leader in that space is. We don't want to tell you what leadership means, right? We want to hear from you in your application to Chevening about, what you think the future for your sector is and what your role in it is. Okay, so I just wanted to open up with that because it's not every scholarship that has that as a selection criteria, right? Usually it's academic excellence. Usually it's, being very theoretical maybe. You'll be able to have your own experiences of scholarships. But the thing about Chevening is that, we want you to think about the future. And the future of the sector in Brazil. So one of the things that we really look for in our scholars is to, have people going to the UK, experiencing loads of things, learning new things, but also taking the Brazilian experience to the UK and seeing how that interacts with other students. Louise will talk to you about how multicultural the university in the UK is. So it's all about exchanging ideas and, having really, mind-opening, thought-provoking ideas for projects, for advancing agendas, etc. But it's also, so it's not just taking things from the UK. I don't believe that that's the purpose, of education. It's the, meeting of ideas, isn't it? Then coming back to your space and making an impact here. So one of the key things that we look for in our scholars is exactly that. What impact do you want to make as a leader in your sector? Okay, I always get really excited about this bit. Right, so that said, let's move on to the boring bit. So it's the more technical side that I think it's important for you to understand. So when applying to Chevening, basically you need to have a few things already done, locked in. So, you need to be Brazilian basically, but also you need to have finished your undergraduate degree. So at the point of application, you're going to be asked when you finished, right? So there's no, the point of us being here today is to create the space where you think about is this an option for me? What do I need to plan, right? What do I need to get into place so that I become a really strong candidate? So that's why we always find it helpful to present it to undergraduates, so you can really make that plan for yourself and see what works for you. So having your undergraduate degree done, but also 2 years of work experience. And that means after your graduation, okay? So the reason why we ask that is due to the leadership element of the scholarship. So we want to really hear about what you have accomplished as, a professional in a non-educational environment, right? So how you work with others, how you organize yourself, what kinds of ideas are you able to come up with and execute, right? So a lot of the application process for Chevening depends on examples, right, of anything that you've done that you think demonstrates your leadership. So that's why we ask that. I always find that I really have to focus on that because it's the only like limiting, I guess, requirement that the scholarship, usually scholarships have like age limits, etc. But this, the only one that Chevening really focuses on is on this. And we have a question, please.
Does like internships or studies count, or just like after the graduation?
Yeah, so that's a really good question. So we had a question about, for the people online, we had a question about whether internships count, stagios. And if it's part of your graduation, of your undergraduate degree, it won't count. And if it takes place after you've graduated, I'm not sure if it's technically an internship, but you would if it's after your graduation. But if it's during your undergraduate degree, then no.
Like the ones I made too, and they were optional, not the degree.
Mm-hmm.
So does that count?
But yeah, if it's during your undergraduate degree, then it doesn't count, I'm afraid. It has to be after you've graduated. And this is a new sort of requirement because of the leadership element. All right. And yes, there's one last point there about, oh, we have another question. Okay, before we move on. It has to be 2 years after you finish your undergraduate degree. So it's a minimum. It's a minimum of 2 years experience, but if it's more.
No, okay, that's like when I apply, I still have 1 year and like 6 months. But if I pass and I start the postgraduate, I will already have 2 years.
Ah, yes, I see. Well, yeah, it will be asked in the application form if you already have 2 years experience on the day of the application. So yeah, so you can really make like an intentional plan, right, to get really good experience, to really work on your leadership in that time. Because, and there will be a slide later on that says what the timeline is like for applying for Chevening. So basically applications are open now between August and October 2025 to start studying in September 2026. So the academic year in the UK starts in September, and for master's courses, so Chevening is for master's courses, it will go from September to September. So you have to think about that timeline to get yourself organized and get loads of leadership experience. Fabulous. Okay.
I have a question from a person.
Ooh, okay.
She's asking if there is any similar program to Chevening or even Chevening, a version of Chevening for PhD students who wants to do a sandwich program or something similar.
That's a great question. And Chevening, many, many years ago, used to include PhD study as well, but it doesn't anymore. It's just master's programs. And I think Louise will be able to tell you how PhD sort of funding and scholarships kind of work, because each university will have their own set of funding attached. But I think for now, what I'll say is if you're looking for PhD opportunities, is to look at specific institutions. And UK universities have very complete websites. So I'd encourage you all, and it's part of the Chevening application process as well, we'll get there in a minute, but to actually do your research, take responsibility, get yourself organized. So that's a really good place to start. If you can think of 1 or 2 British universities, go on their website, University of Birmingham.ac.uk, and you can have a look in the different subject areas what is available. But I'll let Louise talk about that later on. Okay, so I don't want to take up too much time. So let's move on to so that was prerequisites, and this is selection criteria. So there are 2 stages to the Chevening process. The first one is a written application, and each candidate is assessed against 4 key criteria, and you basically write 4 essays, redações. So they are about 300 words each, right? And The first one is on leadership, where you will talk about, give real examples of the things you've accomplished in a professional setting. The second one is on networking, which is not about who you've met, who knows your work. Well, it's a little bit about that maybe, but it's really about how you work with others in a team context, and how you, basically make things happen. The third one is your motivation to study in the UK. So why the UK and not anywhere else? Why not Brazil? You know, we want to know why specifically the UK, why specifically that university, why specifically that course. You know, that makes it unique. And then it sort of like works as a narrative, right? And then the last one is your career plan. So if you were awarded the scholarship to study that program in that university in the UK, what do you then want to accomplish with it that you wouldn't otherwise be able to do? So we really want to understand like what your vision is for the future and the things, the places, the people you want to work with. Okay, so I can go on forever about this, but it's basically very different to a university application. And on that point, if you want to do your master's in the UK with a fully funded scholarship that Chevening offers, you then have to realize that you have to make two applications. One for the university, or actually three. We ask candidates to provide 3 options in their Chevening application. So, right, you have to apply for several universities and understand what they're looking for in that application process. So it's, you know, each university has their own requirements, and separately, but also at the same time in parallel, apply to Chevening. So it's a lot of information to, you know, take on board. It's totally doable. It's very interesting and exciting, right? But it's a lot of work. So you need to be organized. You need to be intentional. You need to have, I hear people tell stories about how they open an Excel spreadsheet and then they organize everything, because it's a lot to take on. You know, different parts of the UK that you can study in, you know, what kind of experience you want to have. That all counts. And there's a third element, which is English. That's why we're doing this in English, right? So you get a gist of the sort of level and, like if you enjoy speaking English, listening to English, thinking in English. But there is also the proficiency test. So one key thing that I like to highlight in presentations is look out for each university requirement, English language level requirement, and note it down, because they will have different, they will accept different tests. They will require different levels for the different competencies. So you need to keep track of that, right? So that you know how to go for it. Okay, so I think that's all for requirements or selection criteria. I mean, there's a 5th point there, which is to promote positive impact in Brazil. So remember, like, we want to send you there, but also we want to understand what kind of impact. So that needs to run through your application. Oh, so I was talking about the essays, right? So that's the first stage of the application process. If you get shortlisted, then you're invited for interview. And then we go over the same 4 criteria at interview, and it's a conversation with you, right? And it's essentially the same format as the essays, but we really want to understand like what it is that you want to achieve. So we call it a dialogue more than, like a questionnaire or something, an interrogation that interviews often feel like. We hope that it is a positive experience where we show, you know, interest in you, and you can tell us all the amazing things you're thinking about, and we get like really excited with those ideas, and we start seeing things through your eyes. That's the sign, at least to me, of a really successful interview. All right? Yeah, so I've basically covered this point, which is English proficiency. I've sent this slide to Thaisi so she can forward it on to you, because that's a link. It doesn't work blue on blue, does it? But it says British Council Brazil, which is where you can find a free English proficiency test that you can find out where you are in the proficiency scale, right? And then you can set yourself an objective and sort of go like, oh, for that university, that course, I need to have, you know, that grade, so I'm going to work on it. So that's our contribution to making that dream happen. Yes, and this is the juicy bit now. What does it cover, right? We say it's a fully funded scholarship, but what does it involve? So it's the most generous scholarship for master's program available today. So it will cover your fees, so basically mensalidade, because every single university in the UK has a fee that you have to pay. It's an annual fee. It's called a tuition fee. But yeah, Chevening covers that for any course. Virtually any course. I'm sure you're going to find one or two and you'd be like, oh, that doesn't cover that one. But most courses, it will be covered by Chevening. It will also cover your visa costs. So you have to, go through a whole legal process to get a visa to study in the UK. That's covered, and as well as your flights and your access to the National Health Service, the British SUS, right? So that's all covered. But I think the greatest thing about Chevening is that you get a monthly, basically, wage, right? Like you basically get paid every month to cover your expenses. So your rent, your food, your transport, your, anything that you need to get you on campus, Chevening will be there for you. And this is covered for the whole 12 months of the experience, right? So we're really proud of that. And yeah, you won't find it anywhere else. So the whole point of this and, the focus on leadership is that our scholars will be completely devoted to studying and networking and really making a positive impact, and to come back and carry on doing that work here. Fantastic. Yeah, there are some things that it doesn't cover, so we always like to get that, really clear. And it just involves things like traveling to the interview location. Unfortunately, we don't cover that. As well as actually getting the visa. So you have to attend an appointment in person to do your digitals and things. So that's not covered. But hopefully that won't deter you from applying. And yeah, there's other things part of the Chevening experience. So basically you become a community of Chevening scholars in the UK. I think there's about 1,200 studying there right now. And there are events. The photo from the cover slide is of that event, of the Brazilian scholars in that event. So you meet thousands of people. And there's a programming as well. So you can attend a conference, the Chevening conference. You can attend other workshops. There's loads of opportunities for you to learn beyond your masters and all across the UK as well. So an opportunity to travel and get to know the country. There's a volunteering program as well, and the scholars that volunteer the most get an award at the end. It's really cool. And yeah, just to finalize, because I'm eager to pass the mic over to Luis, is just a timeline. So basically we are in August. The application window has just recently opened, 5th of August, and it stays open until the 7th of October. That's when you will submit your documents. That's when you submit your essays. And then that all gets assessed over Christmas and January. And then we start interviewing in March and April every year. It's our little tradition. We travel around and we interview and get inspired and re-energized. And then selected scholars are notified around June, July each year to start in September. So even though it's a very slow and sort of long progress, like application process, once you get notified in July, you just sort of have to pack up and go in September. It's very sudden, right? So there's a lot of planning involved again. So if there's one message I want to leave with you here today is think about whether you want to become a Chevening Scholar and, you know, go through the application process and make a really structured plan for you to follow, right? English proficiency, researching the right university and courses for you, really understanding what it is that you want to gain from the experience and the impact that you want to make. All right? And I think that brings us to the end. Oh yeah, there's an expectation that each scholar will come back to Brazil for at least 2 years immediately after the experience so that you can really make that impact. And we strongly discourage paid mentoring. We have a very strong commitment to diversity and inclusion in Brazil. So we believe that, you know, if anyone needs to be mentored, you know, it needs to be with our voluntary mentors. So they are Chevening alumni that work voluntarily to mentor candidates, right? So that said, that's it. Thank you so much. Thank you. And finally, over to you, Luis. I'll switch the slides.
Yes, thank you. Okay, thank you so much. Does this work? No. Right. So, excellent. Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here. My name is Luis Medina Cordova, and I am the head of global engagement for the School of Languages, Cultures, Art History, and Music at the University of Birmingham. I am housed, or my school is housed in the College of Arts and Law, which is the Faculty of Arts and Law. Okay. Today I want to talk to you a little bit about my university, but also to talk to you about what is it like to study in the UK. I was once an undergrad student who decided to go a master's in the UK, and then I stayed there to do my PhD program, and now I am a lecturer at the University of Birmingham. Before I start, I have a lovely video to present the university in broad terms to you, but before I hit play on that, how many of you have heard about Birmingham? Yeah, one, more or less, yeah? Okay, so Birmingham is the second largest city in the UK. We are located in the middle of the country in a place called the Midlands, the West Midlands, and it's 1 hour and 15 minutes away from London in train. At the same time, because it's in the middle of the country, it's really easy to get to places like further up north, like Manchester or Liverpool or even Edinburgh. So it's a very nicely located city because it's right in the middle of the country, and at the same time is the second largest city in the UK. Okay, so I'm just gonna show you a video for you to get a feeling of what our university is like, okay? Okay. Oh, sorry. Should I? That's okay. Yeah.
For 125 years, University of Birmingham has driven discoveries and solutions to the global challenges of our time, continually guiding our focus, working with partners, and drawing across our vast expertise and resources to change how the world works. We have invented, innovated, and influenced society. Our ambitious thinkers and trusted partners seek out pioneering breakthroughs and significant global impact through our 5 research challenge themes: life-changing technologies, global health, connecting cultures, thriving planet, fairer world. Our collaborations across subjects, sectors, and society facilitate impactful and meaningful change. Through a combination of insight and innovation, we endeavour to better the world we live in for generations to come. We are a research powerhouse, driven by a global academic community that is unafraid of difficult questions, built on a unique ability to bring bright minds together across the world at our UK and Dubai campuses, through our Indian, Brazilian and Chinese institutes, our European hub and North American engagements. Through our alliances with international education partners, students become global citizens and are equipped with the knowledge, skills and resilience to address the most pressing issues the world is facing. From this informed perspective, together we focus our expertise to create positive societal impact and bring the best of Birmingham to the world and the best of the world to Birmingham. We are University of Birmingham. We advance. We activate.
Right, so that's a marketing presentation for of the university, and the marketing team has spent a lot of money doing that, and some of my colleagues, some of the people I work with every day were featured in that video, so I'm really excited to show it because my colleagues are fun. So okay, so hopefully that gives you a sense of what the University of Birmingham is like. Yeah, okay. Right, so the University of Birmingham was founded in 1900, so 125 years ago, and we are very proud to be England's first civic university. So we were the first university to be committed to accept students on an equal basis and from different backgrounds. That also means that in 2025 we are celebrating 125 years, so we have done a lot of celebrations and a lot of important things have happened just as to remind people that we are a university that has been making an impact in the UK but also globally for 125 years. These are some key. That's our lovely campus. As you can see, is a very, very green campus which has an amazing equipment of sports facilities, and that clock tower in the middle is kind of the icon of the university, which is the Old Joe. Is a clock tower that there is a legend that says that if you're an undergrad student, you should not walk down Old Joe because that will bring you bad luck for your exams. So a nice tradition of the students is whenever they feel they're ready, whenever they have finally graduated, they hold hands and walk together down Old Joe. So our campus is full of stories like that, and as you can see, is a self-contained campus, which is something that you not often find in UK universities because they tend to be spread out in cities. Like if you go to a London university, you will notice that a campus is one building over there and another building over there. We are a proper university campus. And at the same time, we are just 15 minutes away from the city center of Birmingham. And again, Birmingham is the second largest city in the UK. So it kind of brings together the best of both worlds. You are in a city, in a large city, and at the same time, you get access to this beautiful campus. These are some key indicators, key numbers that speak about our university and how big our university is. So we are the 76th best university in the world according to the QS ranking in 2026, but we have big ambitions to become one of the top 50 universities in the world, and we are actively working every day, myself included, to achieve that goal of becoming one of the top 50 universities in the world. So by the time you apply to Chevening and hopefully come to the University of Birmingham, we will be closer to that goal, and hopefully you can contribute to that legacy of helping us to be great, to be even better than we currently are. Our university has hosted 10 Nobel Prize winners. So 10 people who have won the Nobel Prize are related somehow to the university. We have an income, a revenue of £1 billion every year. So this is not to show you how much money we have, but how big of a university we are, okay? We have more than 42,000 students, both at undergrad and postgraduate level, and including more than 16,000 international students coming from all over the world. So this is a really important figure because it shows that if you are a Brazilian student interested in coming to the UK and study at the University of Birmingham, you will not be the only international student there. You will have an important community of international students that will be part of your journey there. Also, we are very proud of the other stat is that we are the first choice of top graduate employers, which means that we are a university, we are the most targeted universities by the biggest companies in the UK to find recruits. Okay, so our students have a lot of possibilities to find work after completing their programs because we are a very targeted university by top recruiters. We generate more than £250 million every year in research awards, which allow us to do some amazing research in all areas. So you have seen in the video some research related to sciences and medicine, which is great, but we also do research in music, in visual arts, and it's part of that income that the university generates in annual research income. 92% of our research is considered world-leading or internationally excellent, and again, that is something that we are very proud of because, as the videos say, we are a research powerhouse. Also, we are part of the Russell Group. Has anybody heard about the Russell Group? No? Okay, so the Russell Group, we are actually a founding member of the Russell Group, which is similar to what American universities consider the Ivy League. We are that for the UK. This is a group that includes some of the biggest universities in the UK, like Cambridge, Oxford, UCL, LSE, King's College London, etc. We are a founding member of that group. So we're very proud to be in very good company, and it also means that if you come to study with us, you're coming to an elite university. So why Birmingham? As I was saying, because it has both of the best worlds. So you have a very multicultural city, but at the same time, you have access to a university-based campus. What else? So we have a strong international outlook, which means that 1/4 of our students and 1/3 of our staff are international, have an international background, which again, it means that you will not be alone as an international student in the UK because your lecturers will be from South America, from Latin America. We have a few Brazilian lecturers, and your classmates will also be many international students. We also have a very strong emphasis on student experience, which, as the video show, we have sport facilities, we have music, and everything happens on the cultural life of campus, which is very important for us. And finally, another reason of why choosing Birmingham is because we have a long-term history of engagement with Brazil, specifically, which might be very interesting for you. We are one of the few universities in the UK which has a dedicated Brazilian institute, and the Brazilian Institute of the University of Birmingham is the hub for all things Brazil in the university. So we have many research programs with Brazilian partners. We have opportunities for student awards, students research, and scholarships and other things like that, collaboration opportunities. But we also bring a lot of the cultural life of Brazil to the university campus. So these are some examples of the news that the Brazilian Institute have generated in the past, this year alone. In June, we have a cohort of Birmingham students who came to partner with some Brazilian universities and Brazilian students to do a trip to the Amazon region to discuss and to explore, to talk about some of the global challenges, some global challenges like climate change and other things. And it was a very fun experience for a group of Birmingham students and a group of Brazilian students who joined together and took on this trip. We also have celebrations for our long-standing partnerships with Brazilian institutions, and we have had a Brazilian Cultural Week a couple of months ago, I think, in which we did a lot of cultural events, again, to bring that Brazilian life into campus. This is something that you will not find in many universities in the UK, because, again, we are one of the few universities with a dedicated Brazilian institute, okay? I have talked about an overview of the University of Birmingham and what we offer, and now I am going to talk a little bit about the College of Arts and Law, which is where I work and which is where my school is. We kind of, the emphasis that of our college is kind of exploring what it means to be human in different contexts, like in legal contexts, in artistic ways, in many things that make us a kind of the focus of arts and humanities and law in the university. So our core disciplines are English and creative studies. English means English literature in this case, and we also do history and cultures, which is where you can study things like history, of course, but you can also study classics, archaeology, and other subjects like that. We have the School of Law, which, of course, you can study Derecho, law. We have the School of Philosophy, Theology, and Religion, and we have my school, which is the best of them all, where you can study languages, cultures, art history, and music. So in my school, you can study both undergrad and postgraduate programs in things like comparative literature, because ours is a school of language. So if you want to study literature in Brazilian literature, for example, and you might consider coming to do our program in comparative literature, because that's where you can engage with literatures in other languages, in languages other than English, and perhaps compare it with other disciplines or other traditions. These are some of the degrees that we, or some of the subjects that we offer, and we are, our university is the 63 best university for arts and humanities subjects in the world, according to the world ranking in 2025. What else? Again, this is something we're very proud of, because we are the most targeted university for employability in the UK. So that's very important for us, because we look after our students by even after their degrees have finished, or we prepare them to engage with that job hunting process. Okay. Some of our alumni have gone on to work in companies like Apple, Amazon, the Huffington Post, but also to international organizations like the United Nations, or in the UK, the Home Office. This includes cultural institutions as well, like the Sydney Opera House for those studying music, Penguin, the publishing company, or the British Council. These are just some of the examples that we have of where our students have gone to after their degree. And yeah, finally, no, that's not finally, but we also have industry-leading facilities, which means that, for example, we have the Barbary Institute of Fine Arts. This is on campus, which is our own art gallery on campus. And if you study art history or curating with us, you will learn there in the Barbary Institute, but you will also get to practice what you're learning in the classroom in your own dedicated art space. We have the Shakespeare Institute, which is a very, very privileged facility, because, as you may know, Shakespeare was born in Stratford-upon-Avon, which is 15 minutes by train from Birmingham. And the University of Birmingham is the only university that has the Shakespeare Institute, which is an institute dedicated to study all things Shakespeare in Stratford-upon-Avon. So if you come to study with us to a discipline related to English language and Shakespeare, you will have the privilege to study in Shakespeare's birthplace. And if you study another discipline, you can also visit the Shakespeare Institute just for curiosity and to see what they're doing up there. We have the Bramal Music Building, which is for our music performers and our music students. And this is a very, very cool space because it's not only a teaching space as it's a performing space that performs for where students can perform for the university community, but also for the city. So it's a concert hall open to people from the city to see our students, and other performers from all over the world come and listen to very nice music. And we have things like the Exchange, which is a gallery, another gallery in the city center, where the idea is connecting what we do in the university, which is just 15 minutes away from the city center, with what happens in the heart of the city. This is a picture of the Bramal Music Building, and they have lunchtime concerts, so it's really nice just to take your lunch and go to listen to students practice, and it's really, really an amazing space. We also have our own facilities for podcasting and content creation, which we encourage our students to put into practice what they learn and the concepts that they are engaging with in their theory classes, and create content with their own dedicated space for doing so. Okay, so for our students in languages and in translation studies, we have the interpreting suite, which is kind of the same technology that they use in the United Nations, and we let our students play and practice with that, the things that they learn in their courses. We like to take the classroom into the world, and this means that, for example, the students doing archaeology, they do study trips to places like Athens, or the idea is taking students to learn about the history where the history actually happened. So we are a very privileged university, and because we offer these possibilities for our students. And this is just some example, but the philosophy goes right across our degrees, and many of our programs will offer study trips and opportunities like this one. Okay, so finally, I want to highlight some of our main master's programs. So if you're planning to apply to a Chevening scholarship, these are some of the programs that you might look into if it's interesting for you. For example, we have programs in history and heritage. We have programs in literature and Shakespeare. I teach in this one, in the comparative literature and critical theories. It's one of the best programs in the university. I teach there. And again, it's something, if you are interested in studying, like I am, Latin American literature, we teach that there, both in Spanish, in Portuguese as well, but also in comparison with other literatures of the world in other languages. We have masters in music, which includes, it can be a focus on composition, on performance, or musicology. We have history of art and curating studies. We have digital media. It's a program that it's attracting a lot of international students, and yeah, it has become a very popular program, and it can be a bit competitive because we receive so many applicants. But again, it's something that it's interesting and it's there. We have programs in film, television, and creative industries. I think some of you mentioned that you were interested in film or TV studies. We offer MA programs on those subjects. We also have languages, linguistics, and communications. And again, my colleagues, some of the people you saw in the video, teach in this one, in the MA in Translation Studies. And we can accommodate many different combinations: Portuguese, Spanish, English, Portuguese into English, or vice versa. Again, there are many possible combinations that we can accommodate because we have colleagues working in more than 10 languages. We also have programs in law. I'm not sure that we have any law students here, no, so I'm just going to pass to that on that one. And in addition to the scholarships that you may bring, for example, the Chevening scholarships, we also have funding, discipline-specific funding, which means that if you come to study to one of our programs, you have the possibility to apply to one of these awards. Okay. there's more information with that, scanning that QR code about funding and scholarships to do a master programs in the College of Arts and Law. So if you're interested in looking at alternative sources of funding, you can go there. And yeah, I wanted to ask if there are any questions. This is one of our mottos: be bold, be Birmingham. Are there any questions, guys?
I have a
Yes.
question from Juliana. She's asking about the facilities like student housing, restaurants. Do you have any structure for students?
Absolutely, yes. We have a very big campus that has several restaurants, several bars. We have a few pubs as well on campus, which is very fun. We have the Students' Union restaurants and pubs as well. So yeah, we have a lot of facilities of that kind. But also we are just in Birmingham, which is a city that offers restaurants from any country that you can imagine, except for Ecuador, which is mine. For that one, yeah, we're still waiting for one. But yeah, we have a lot of facilities of that kind, not just on campus, but also in the city. Yeah. Mhm.
And how about housing for students?
Okay.
University housing.
Yeah, so again, our campus is very large and we have a student accommodation available on campus. I cannot guarantee that all students will be offered a place because we receive a lot of international students, but I can tell you that the international students get the priority at the time of applying. But if you do not find accommodation in campus, you can always go to the private sector and we can facilitate engagement with the private sector. So our student experience officers and our student support office can help students to find accommodation in the private sector in Birmingham. There is a student neighborhood called Selly Oak just in front of the university, and that's where all our a lot of our students live. It's a very fun neighborhood.
Luis, I'll come in on that as
Yeah.
well, just on the Chevening side, because we have, Brazilians going, becoming Chevening scholars every year. What happens a lot is that they will rent the same house and then each cohort of new Chevening will just take over them. So there's two things for you to consider. So there's a lot of coverage, right? There's a lot of people there ready to help international students.
Yeah, another things that the international students do is that they go and they team up with other international students and then they rent a house together outside of campus normally because it's cheaper and more fun. Yeah. Any other questions? Yes? Okay, so someone in the audience is asking about how many students we accept per semester, and that depends on each course, each program. It changes from program to program. Some programs will have more capacity than others, but my general advice is if you are interested in one of our programs, just apply or get in touch with some of our support officers and we can explore specifically how the availability of each program each year. It will also depend on the year of applying. Mm-hmm. Sure. Any other questions?
Online, people were asking just to sum up the Chevening program and the Birmingham application calendar. So if I want to study at Birmingham with the Chevening program, which is the process? The calendar, like.
Let's try and do this, Luis.
Yeah, let's try. Okay, so our master's programs open around October or November every year, and they close we recommend international students to apply until July of the year in which they are planning to start. So from July, August and September to start in September, so up to July. But I think that that needs to be considered in fact in combination with Chevening, right, Chris?
Exactly. So we open applications every year between August and October. So we're open right now. We've just opened. So if you were applying for next year, which is the case, then you would be doing both things at the same time. What I recommend and what I've heard lots of people applying to Chevening do is that they will focus on their Chevening application first, but they will already have made a decision about which British universities to apply for. So because you have to talk about your options in your application, right? So you can't just kind of go like, oh, I'll do that later, even though you can, right? Because the university deadlines are different, are much later than the Chevening ones. But you need to, so that you progress on to the selection process and you actually make it to the interview stage. So you then do your initial selection. Oh, okay, University of Birmingham looks really interesting. Maybe I'll, read more about this course, and that ends up on your list. You then work on your Chevening application, send that in, and then you can start working on your actual university application.
Yes, I hope that makes sense.
All at the same time with the English proficiency test as well. So remember, it's 3 things.
Yeah.
We have another hands up.
It might be a silly question, but it's about the student. When you say we can go to UK after 2 years, that is there, we can go to study again, right?
Right, so we've been asked about clarification around the 2-year return to Brazil requirement that Chevening has. So basically, it's just the 2 years immediately after you finish the master's course is meant to encourage you to put those things into practice, right? So it's not like anyone's going to be like, looking at your LinkedIn, making sure that you're but it's just so that there is that link between you actually going to study in the UK and doing the things you said you were going to do in your application. But yeah, like what happens a lot of the time is that, people that, especially the ones in the academic route, they want to go on to study a PhD, right? So they just return, apply those things that they gained at master's level for 2 years, and then they will go to anywhere in the world, really, to do their PhD. So yeah, I hope that clarifies. Yeah, do you mean like traveling around? Yes, you can. Although you have to plan that too, because it's a full-time master's, guys. So we can talk about that as well. I don't know how you're doing with time, but it's a full-time master's. So the expectation is that you're going to be studying and you're going to be writing. Reading lists are notoriously long, and it's lectures. So you hear a specialist going through very dense theory, as I'm sure you have here already at undergraduate level, and some of you master's level as well. So all of that is the same expectation, and you have to write your essays, you have to do your own research. So there's a lot of expectations, but it is possible to travel.
Birmingham is ideal for traveling. Right in the middle of the country, you can go up and down. It's very easy. I also remember, Chris, that we had a question a bit earlier about PhD funding. So I would say that there are mainly 2 different ways already funding, and you can apply to be part of a PhD researcher in that project. If that is a route that interests you, you can go to websites like Jobs Academy, Jobs AC UK, where we tend to advertise these opportunities in addition to the websites of different UK universities, which will tend to advertise what research projects already have funding to provide funding for a PhD student. The other way is that if you do not join a project that is already funded, you can apply with your own idea to conduct your own research. And people tend to contact lecturers like me in the UK, in UK universities, to to kind of explain them their idea and convince them that this is an interesting research idea that has the potential, and we will help you to find a proper supervisor for that project. And that supervisor will also provide advice on where to find sources of funding. We do have a few opportunities for internal PhD funding, but these tend to be highly, highly competitive because it's not students from Brazil, but we receive applications from all over the world, and we don't have that many funding possibilities, but we do have a few. So you might contact a potential PhD supervisor and ask them to help you to identify internal sources of funding.
Excellent. Do we have time for a final question if there's one flying around? Yeah, feel free, guys. I know it's lunchtime, so I don't want to keep you too long, but I want to make sure that you don't leave with any questions unanswered. Final questions? Okay. Yes, it varies a little bit each year because different universities charge different tuition fees, but we have around 30 to 40 every year, so it's a good number. Excellent. Okay, so let's finish here, right? Thank you so much for attending today. It's been a pleasure. You can follow the Chevening Instagram account. It's Chevening Alumni Brazil. We post, we tell stories of our scholars. We give tips. We have a live coming up at some point this month that you'll be able to hear directly from a Chevening scholar. And I just wanted to thank Thaís, thank you so much for setting this up. And Professora Cláudia, thank you so much for having us here today. Luis.
Yeah, thank you so much for listening, and just to leave you with a message that consider Birmingham if you are interested in studying in the UK. We have more information about entry requirements, the level of English required, and more information about our programs on the website, for which you can use the QR code on the screen. Also, if you are here in the room with us, please take a postcard to remember the University of Birmingham. I also have a few badges which I'm happy to give away. Okay, so just come around and you will get a badge of the University of Birmingham. Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much for hosting us.